Teachers of Reddit, what's the most cringe-worthy thing a student has said in class? My dad's a teacher and he said a student once asked him what he did for a living. Teaching 10-12-year-olds is a goldmine of cringy comments I can't pick. If I liked girls, I'd like you. I mean, not that I don't like girls. Well, I don't. Not because I'm gay. Not that gay is bad. But I'm not gay. But I don't like girls. I think because I haven't gotten to puberty yet. Made even better by the long pause between each sentence and the confusion on the poor girl's face. I think that poor little boy gets a pass on swearing. When I was in CPR class my freshman year, in a suburb outside of Boston, back before the Red Sox had won their first World Series in 86 years, and Sox fans were rageful and hated the Yankees with more passion than they ever will again. Anyways, class was almost over, and the principal of the school came on the loudspeaker and said, "We have news in out of New York." During his short pause, I yelled out, "New York sucks, September, getting ready for playoffs." And then he said 2 planes have crashed into the Twin Towers. Obviously I felt horrible and had no idea that was the day that would later be never forgotten. Oops, I am a jackass. The day before my wedding, a student yelled, "Have a great wedding, Ms. Linguist. Wear a condom." Kids got sense. I'm a teacher who also works at our after school program, so I have kids from across several grades. One of my 3rd grade boys was arguing with another boy when he shouts, "Oh yeah, you can just put your penis in my butt." He was clearly serious and seemed to be under the impression that it was like a frick you type insult. The other boy fell into stunned silence, and some of the 5th grade boys who'd heard started snickering, but were kind enough to tell him, "Dude, don't say that ever again. I'm using this now." My mother runs a small farm with chickens and roosters, among other animals. So, I was volunteering in my daughter's 1st grade class, and they were making words with the awk spelling pattern, like sock, rock, etc. A kid made the word willy, and the teacher said that it was another name for a rooster. My daughter suddenly yelled, "Oh, my grandmother has a willy." A friend of mine had to send a boy home from her kindergarten class for saying "frick the police." Kindergarten. Showed my students a picture of the Titanic on its end beside the Eiffel Tower to give an idea of scale. A student asked how they got the big boat to balance while they took the photo. The whole class cracked up and I gently explained things to her. But icebergs can't melt French beams. I remember in high school one girl was giving a presentation on something and kept mentioning the Shiites but pronounced it shites for her whole 10-minute thing. This one kid was laughing his ass off the whole time while he kept asking her wait. Oh, she had no idea and just kept saying with a straight face the shites. In my college biology class last fall, a fellow student asked if cobwebs were living creatures. A student in my college bio class asked if we can get healthy and improve our eyesight by looking at plants. I know him and he is a physics major who had the highest GPA in the physics department. Teacher, Dave, can you please write X and 9 on the whiteboard? Dave, how do you spell X? HexOFC, the H is silent. I asked one of my preschoolers what was for lunch one day during circle time. She told me chopped liver and Jack Daniels. Another time I told a little boy he did a great job using counters to add. He looked me square in the face and said, "Yeah B, I'm the fricking man." He was 5. Oh, one more. I asked a 5-year-old what rhymes with store. He yelled on the top of his lungs W in the middle of the playground. He sounds like a frickin' champ. A student raised his hand and asked to go to the bathroom during a lecture in Geology 101 with about 200 other students. To be fair, we have had to ask to go to the bathroom since we were about 4 or 5. It's probably so ingrained into his process in school that any deviation from that set standard is a surprise. I have told this before, but it fits. I was teaching English at a university in Japan and I assigned the students the task of translating a Japanese folktale into English and presenting it orally to the class. One young lady chose Momotaro. It's the story of a baby boy that is found when an elderly couple sees a massive peach floating down a river. They retrieve it, cut it open, and find the baby. He then grows up to fight monsters. Momotaro is usually translated as Peach Boy, but this young lady chose to translate it as the boy who came in my peach. She kept saying it over and over. I nearly died trying not to show any reaction. He's not my biological boyfriend. What does that even mean? Means she has a mechanical boyfriend. Halfway through Animal Farm, a student says, "Wait a minute, this book has talking animals in it?" No, the French emperor decided to become communist in a barn. I have called several teachers mom on more than 50 occasions through IDK. Did that to my boss yesterday. I want to die. Not a teacher. This was me. A school counselor came to our health class and did a presentation on suicide. He brought a bag of high chews, and whoever answered a question got one. It was a boring presentation, but I wanted a high chew really bad. So when he asked his next question, "Why do you think suicide is illegal?" I raised my hand and answered, "Because no one wants to clean up after you." That's also hilarious in a rather dark way. Just before the end of the class on the day before winter break, I wished my students a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah or Blessed Kwanzaa. My German exchange student asked, "Hanukkah? What is Hanukkah?" I explained it was the Jewish holiday that falls in the winter. She said, "Oh, I've never heard of that. We don't have many Jews in Germany." She was a sweet girl, if a little airheaded sometimes. She wasn't making a joke. My lab partner for my 9th grade year was one of the popular girls. Well, since we had to spend the year together in class, we talked a lot and got somewhat close. Now the table behind us had one of those typical neck beards. He was overweight, unkempt, had greasy hair in a ponytail and oily skin. He was also the type that expected girls to flock to him, and he was crushing hard on the popular girl, but she had a boyfriend, so he never said anything. Well, one day popular girl comes in crying, so naturally I ask what's wrong. She tells me that she just found out her boyfriend cheated on her. As soon as Neckbeard heard those words come out of her mouth, he came to our table and started saying how he'd never mistreat her, how a fine lady like her, his words, deserves a gentleman like him, and how he'll beat the crap out of her now ex-boyfriend for her. Once he was done professing his love to her, he grabbed her hand and attempted to kiss it. She quickly pulled back her hand and he started yelling at her, saying things like, "If a gentleman like me can't get to you, what makes you think any other guy will?" and how she's gonna regret turning down a gentleman such as himself. He sounds like an butthole. One girl in an English class a few years ago, 16-17 years old, didn't know the word crater or the existence of the Grand Canyon. That's a problem. My group of friends once had a soccer game with a bunch of teachers. It was a cold, rainy Tuesday night 10 miles north of Stoke. My group of friends did what we usually do post-pay, get changed as quickly as possible, avoiding removing the underwear with the intention of showering once we get home. Our teachers did what they usually do post-pay, get completely butt naked, and use the school shower. Having been able to close my eyes before seeing a multitude of teacher willy, I was lucky enough to see nothing. I did, however, jokingly give one of my teachers the nickname Big John Doe, and it kind of stuck. 3 months later, a friend who wasn't part of the match asked for an explanation of the Big John Doe nickname. I explained it as he got naked in front of me. I saw his willy. It's massive. Next lesson, the above friend and I have Big John Doe as our teacher. That friend decides to ask him, "So KW13 calls you Big John Doe because he saw your willy and it's massive. Care to comment?" I don't know if it's the most awkward, cringe-worthy thing for him, but it was for me. A little girl, kindergarten, drew a picture of herself, then colored the whole page red. When asked why she colored everything in red, the kid said, "That's what I'm going to look like when I blow myself up." Our unexpected childhood. I teach math at college. One semester I am teaching a bridge course, where students who have previously done poorly in math are given the opportunity to prove their potential the summer before they will begin proper classes. Basically, if they fail the bridge course, they don't get accepted to college. One student is particularly defiant to the idea of this class. She fails to turn in homework, even when directly asked, and offers no excuse or reason. Eventually I directly tell her that she will surely fail the class at her current rate. She gets defensive and claims, "I'm a criminal justice major. I'm going to be a police officer. I don't need math. All I need to do is point and shoot." Needless to say, she failed. Math saved a lot of people's lives that day. G'day mate. This is Doggo from Australia. What is your cringe story from school? If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Updoot Reddit.